Splatoon 3. Man, this game is gonna be a year old soon, and as of the time I started writing this, we still don't have an exact release date for the Side Order DLC, or many details of what that DLC will be like. All we know right now is that the DLC will show us what would happen if Order won the final Splatfest of Splatoon 2, Pearl and Marina will be returning, and that we might be playing as Agent 8 once again. Though that hasn't been verified, that might just be another Octoling that looks like them. I'm interested to see where this goes, especially since Off the Hook is returning, because they're the best idol group in the series, and those who think otherwise can fight me! Now, similar to most Splatoon story mode trailers, the Side Order trailer presents itself in a rather mysterious and ominous way, with strange music and scattered blink-and-you'll-miss-it visuals. Now, those who follow Splatoon are used to this, but for those less familiar with the series, this seems like a strange presentation for a bright and fun paint game for kids. Well, that's because Splatoon has always had a story structure that I've admired. One that presents itself as a simple, easy-to-grasp plot for kids, but once you look below the surface, you see a much more mature and expansive world that you'd never assume would exist given the cover art of these games. And how is this the case? Well, this entire new layer of storytelling is given to us through the Sunken Scrolls hidden throughout each level, which turns a goofy Squid Kid game into a world that's mature, beautiful, tragic, and profound. Oh, and just a quick side note before we get started, this video will mostly be talking about the scrolls in Splatoon 1, but we'll be using points from future games to expand on them. Just to let you know. So the story mode of Splatoon follows the player character as they get recruited into the new Squidbeak Splatoon to rescue the great Zapfish of Inkopolis, which has been stolen by the Octarians, who are out for revenge for their defeat in the Great Turf War 100 years prior. And in terms of plot that's directly presented to us, that's about it, aside from the radio calls that happen with each defeated boss. Quick story, in and out. Unless, of course, you find the scrolls. While they aren't all directly linked to the main plot, some of the scrolls actually do detail events from the aforementioned Great Turf War, ranging from war pics to battle records. Some of these provide a comedic edge, with the decisive factors of some battles being sleep schedules or a plug being pulled. But then there are the more serious scrolls, detailing times before the war, a time when things were peaceful between Inklings and Octarians, and they didn't fight out of hatred or ill will, they were simply victims of circumstance, being forced to fight due to rising sea levels leaving a territory shortage. Learning this information is honestly pretty sad, as this establishes that neither Inklings nor Octarians are inherently bad, but rather that they simply fight to preserve themselves. But if you thought that was sad, take a look at Scroll 6. The Department of Energy has announced that further declines in the availability of electric power are likely to occur in the near future, with the underground domes also deteriorating rapidly. The future does not look bright. Again, this is supposed to be a kid's game, but this scroll is worded as if it came directly from a government press conference, something only older teens and adults would be able to fully grasp. But while different ages will interpret this in different ways, the main message is clear. Octarian civilization is dying. This gives them a somewhat justifiable motivation for stealing the Great Zapfish, and while it definitely seems like there could be a peaceful resolution rather than stealing it, you gotta remind yourself, these Octarians have been living underground for a century. While some, like Octavio, have personally tasted defeat, most of them weren't even alive during the war and have been told their whole lives that Inkling equals bad. Well, this is mostly elaborated on in Splatoon 2. Even the first game is able to show us that the Octarians you fight are victims. Victims of war, victims of horrible living conditions, and victims of brainwashing. All of this information is presented to us via a few pictures with 2-sentence descriptions, yet it's able to parallel what's happened to those who've been on the losing side of wars throughout real-world history. It goes a lot deeper than evil octopi stole big fish, huh? Not only is the campaign's plot expanded upon by the Sunken Scrolls, but the world the Inklings live in as well. We get to see how Turf War became a part of Inkling culture for 2,000 years, as well as some of their own culture with things like fashion magazines and artwork. While these things may seem entirely pointless at first and almost seem like they were put in as a joke, they actually make the world feel more lived in, showing that Inklings have hobbies and aren't just idle drones. They have trends that change with time, they listen to music, and even have Black Friday. How much closer to our society can you get? Another important world expansion we see through the Sunken Scrolls are the anatomy and evolution of Inklings, and how this world is literally just our world except 12,000 years after humans have gone extinct. This is a topic that would take center stage in Splatoon 3, but the seeds of that plot were being sowed as early as the first game. Through Scroll 10, we see that Inklings evolved in a very similar way to humans, but with squids instead of apes. Though that's not even the most interesting part of this scroll. That would be the beginning, which states, "with creatures of the surface driven to extinction by rising sea levels." That half sentence says a lot with just 12 words. This tells us that this world wasn't always the world of the cephalopods. There was someone here before them, and it won't be until near the end of the game when that's further elaborated on. Though academic circles warn of rising sea levels, the policymakers pay them no heed. At this rate, human civilization may be lost beneath the tide. Will even this furry fellow be consumed by the raging ocean? This is Scroll 25, the first of the final 3 scrolls in the game, which detail the fall of humanity. Not only is this scroll incredibly dark for a kid's game, but it hits especially hard since it references the real-world scientists' warning of environmental disaster and directly calls out the politicians that ignore them. And knowing that this scroll had such clear real-world inspirations, it's hard to look at the next scroll the same way I did as a kid. Scroll 26 depicts a human skeleton playing on a Wii U. While this at first seems like a way for the devs to roast humans while depicting their creation as some godly item, knowing the context of the last scroll, it comes across as less funny and more tragic. Every human has a life. They have a personality, likes, dislikes, etc. Though here, that doesn't matter, as no matter who this human was, now they just exist as a skeleton and get roasted by Inklings. So with that in mind, what's the point? People often question why they exist, and if in the end you just end up as a skeleton, is there even a point? Well, according to the last scroll, yes there is. Scroll 27 depicts Judd's human owner cryogenically freezing him in hopes that he'll last throughout the ages. And as we see in the games, it worked. Judd is the last living memory of humanity. Well, aside from Mr. Grizz, but he wasn't a part of this yet. But the point is that Judd embodies the memory of humans, and he was able to change the world. He literally determined the outcome of wars. The fact that this all happens shows that Judd's owner's plan worked. Humanity may be gone, but their memory lives on, even if the Inklings don't know it. This shows that there is a point, that even when you're gone and forgotten, what you did will still affect the world for centuries to come, even if those who come after don't know it. Why are we here? For what purpose do we exist? We must not dwell on these questions. We can merely trust in the will of the universe and spend our days and nights in harmony with the world, celebrating this festival called life. This is the text of Scroll 24, which illustrates a lot of the points that I just mentioned, but instead of humans, these are the thoughts of Inklings. This scroll tells us that these beings think the same way as humans, driven by a desire to create and innovate. And now that humans are gone, it's their turn to pick up the slack. This is why I find the story of Splatoon so interesting, as it's always struck me as one of Nintendo's most shockingly realistic franchises. It doesn't take place in some magical kingdom or distant planet. It takes place in cities that have a similar layout to what we see in our own cities. Inklings aren't magical creatures, they just evolved from squids the same way humans did with apes, and as a result, they have abilities that we aren't used to. They rely on their own abilities, intellect, and technology to solve problems instead of some magical item or divine intervention, showing us that humans and Inklings have more in common than initially meets the eye. To think that none of this information would have been presented without these random scrolls you find throughout each level, proving that what initially seems like a simple concept can create a whole new world of storytelling to explore.